This is me, Abikayil Aarthi, Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Engineering in King's College of Engineering. On today, we are going to see the presentation in the topic of white box testing, which covers the fourth unit in OOAC paper. Happy to be in the presentation, and everyone, thank you for your visiting this slides. Yeah, let me get into the topic. What is mean by software testing? Before enter into the topic of white box testing, we want to be good in what is meant by testing. Yeah, in the software testing, we are having these classifications as white box testing, black box testing, gray box testing. Yeah, so what is meant by software testing? Yes, it is the process of analyzing a software item into detect the difference between the existing and the required conditions, that is the bugs, yeah, errors. To evaluate the feature of these software items, we are using software testing. Okay, if you are preparing some sambar, right, in that sambar, we want to test whether the preparation of us is very good in salt, very good in spices, yeah, very good in thickness, everything we have to check. That the term is called testing. Yeah, so what's the purpose of that testing? To yield a good output in day-to-day life, isn't it? The same thing we are doing in the systems. Yeah, so the testing is the process of executing software with the intent of finding errors or detect and verify that the software meets its requirements. Understand? So what it means it's meeting the requirements of the particular execution by the whom user. So the good testing is always highly probability to find undiscovered errors. This is the good testing. While going for the successful testing, unknown errors. You can understand the meaning of these two things. Undiscovered errors is a good testing. What is meant by that successful testing is a unknown errors, right? For example, a person makes an error, right, that creates a fault in the software that can cause a failure in the whole operation. Understand? Error, fault, and failure. What's these three terms mean for? So a person can makes an error, right? The error is done by the persons or any users. What is meant by the fault? That creates a fault in the software. So in the whole thing, it makes a fault. What's meant by failure? The outcome that can cause a failure in the whole operations. So let me enter into the white box testing. So the white box testing based on analysis of the internal structure of the components or the systems, right? It's related to the designing techniques and describes its which standard it speaks for, right? Also, software testing technique explicit knowledge of the internal working of the item being tested and are used to select the test data. While going for the white box testing based on the specific knowledge of the source code to define the test cases and to examine the particular output. For example, writing the test to cover the internal parts, right? So internal structure is known to the tester in white box testing. This white box testing can be applied, these kind of testing. What all the test means? In this white box testing, unit test, module test, and the system test, right? For example, if you are having the dynamic testing, so what the dynamic testing, this is the software testing types, dynamic testing. In this dynamic testing, you can share the testing as white box and the black box. From the white box, it covers statement coverage, branch coverage, path coverage, and the conditional coverages. So each code in the coverage measures which describes the degree of which the source code of the program has been tested. Once the white box testing which finds the area of the program, it also creates some test cases to increase coverage and determine a quantitative measure of the code coverage. So far, it combines that the source code information to generate a report about the test and suits the code coverage. So what this types covered means the statement coverage testing, path coverage testing, conditional and multi-condition testings. Understand? So in each, so what are all the each type speaks for, we shall see. This statement coverage, the percentage of the executable statement that has been exercised by the unit tests, right? It can test the suits which is examined in the particular testing. In the programming language, it's nothing that the line of code or instruction for the computer to understand and act accordingly, right? So this statement coverage is a white box testing design technique. We already speak about that. What it examine means, what it involves means, it's execution of the executable statement in the source code at least once. It's used to calculate and measure the number of statements in the source code which can be executed given in the requirement. So this is the formula for the statement coverage, that already executed statement to the total number of the statement into 100. This is the percentage item. Understand? So the statement coverage deals with already executed statement to the particular total number of the statements. For example, you can look into the graph statement coverage, this 1A. Understand? This is the total statement. Total how many statements are there? 5 statements are there. A, C, D, E, G, H. These are the parameters we are using here. So what are all the covered statements means 3, right? What are all the statements? So from the covered statements, we are, so what's the formula we already see? So executed statements to the total number of statements. So how many statements we examine, that is the covered statement. Covered statement is 3, right? So total number of the statement is 5 into 100. So the statement coverage percentage is 60%. Understand? Yes. Next we come for the branch coverage. This branch coverage is nothing but number of the executed branches. In here what we see, executed statement. Here number of executed branches. Either the branch, the programming language like if statement, if statement has 2 branches, isn't it? One is a true and another one is a false. So it may helps to ensure the possible branches from each decision condition executed at least a single time, right? So you can also measure the fraction of independent code segments. It also helps us to find out which is sections of code don't have any branches. To calculate, we use this particular formula. For example, the same here, we are having how many branches? Total number of branches 4, right? So how many covered branches we are having? 2, right? So total number of the branches is 4, covered branches to the same formula. Of course, from this formula you can attain the percentages as 50 as the statement coverage, branch coverage, right? Next is the path coverage. Path coverage also deals with the same thing. While going for the path coverage, comprehensive techniques ensure that all parts of the program are traversed at least once, right? So even more powerful than the branch coverage. Which one is path coverage, right? This technique is useful for testing the complex programs in the program. So for the path coverage, you can take to travel from the flow chart from to start to the end. While take from the A to the end of this, you can cover all the paths in the flow chart by writing a test case that follow the following 4 routes, right? So how 1A while traveling here 2B, understand? After 2B, or what it happens? Next it attains the E, right? Next it's go for 4F. Understand? So these are the paths we are traveling. How many paths? So total number of paths like this, you can cover 4 paths. In that 4 path, which is executable one to the end, that is one path, right? So 1 by 4. How much the paths from the total number of the path to the executable path? So 25% path coverage. Next, you going for the condition coverage. This condition coverage deals with the Boolean operations, right? This condition coverage code is executable at least once. How the variables or sub expressions in the conditional statements are evaluated. This coverage expression logical operands are only considered. Understand what are the logical operations we know? Boolean operations like AND or XOR, right? These are all the operations we already saw, expressions. So This condition coverage, what's the formula? Executable operands to the total number of the operands. For example, for the above expression, we have four possible combinations, right? One is true, true, false, false, true, false, false, true, right? Consider the following inputs that x, y, it's true. This condition is 1 by 4 equal to 25 percentage of these particular conditions. So what are all the advantages, what are all the disadvantages here? So it helps to optimize the code while going for here white box testing costs dispensive methods of testing, right? Extra lines of code can be removed while going for it. Maintain white box testing useful as specialized tools are required. White box testing can be quite complex and of course it is highly expensive one. While going for the advantage, its coverage attend during the test scenario writing and all, and finding the hidden errors can easily identified in the white box testing, easily automated, and though code paths are usually covered, testing can start early in SDLC models. While going for the test case test, the white box testing developers is not detailed, can lead production errors. White box testing requires professional resource with a detailed understanding of the program and implementation. White box testing is a time delivered one. So these are all the advantages and disadvantages. And thank you for spending the time in the slides and make use of it. Thank you.